Adam Green's the head of the PCCC, Progressive Change Campaign Committee. Adam, great to have you here. Obviously, we've got a new nominee now. I was hoping for an open convention, but that's not gonna happen. It looks like Kamala Harris already has enough delegates to be the nominee. So now that we've got a new nominee, what do progressives do going forward and what's our priorities?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the vibes today feel much different than they did 48, 72 hours ago, don't they? So The first thing is get on board and take the W for a second. You know, this is a new environment where we have hope and change and all the good stuff on our side, momentum-wise. I think the next thing for Kamala Harris is to, keep projecting the strength vibes and integrate strong policies into it. And the biggest thing I'm looking at is there a continuation of the path that Joe Biden has put us on when it comes to very good economic policy, including some big, Bernie Sanders priorities that were laid out in the last couple of days before President Biden stepped aside. Things like expanding Medicare and Social Security, buying and then relieving medical debt, having a cap on rent inflation. All these things that Joe Biden has proposed will Vice President Harris continue down that road. If she does, if she keeps calling out greedy corporations who are trying to jack up prices on everything from gas to groceries to prescriptions to junk fees, that would be a very good sign. And unlike Biden, who had the media environment framed against him, she has the media environment on her side right now, and she can actually be heard.
So are we hopeful or not hopeful that she will actually hear that out and actually act strong? Because in the past, Adam, she hasn't been known as a pillar of strength. She has waffled on some policy issues. There's reporting that she's been a little bit nervous as vice president, but maybe you know something I don't inside Washington. Is there any chance she's receptive to progressive policies, which again, in the past, sometimes she was and sometimes she wasn't. And is there any indication that she's got a newfound strength?
Yeah, so you and I both lived through the 2019-2020 primary, where it was a big question, what will each candidate support on each issue? This is a very different environment where there is already a Biden-Harris agenda, an agenda that progressives can be very proud that over the years, by moving the window of what's possible, we got things either passed or onto the radar 1-2 votes away from passing. So I think she enters this moment feeling like that is her agenda. And secondly, the staff that she's inheriting, both the people that still support her at the White House and the people that she just met today for a deep conversation on the campaign, are all a continuation of Biden people who have been speaking the talking points of calling out greedy corporations that jack up prices, protecting Social Security and not giving tax breaks to billionaires. So I would be shocked if there was some kind of culture shift where she decided to intervene on behalf of billionaires and against Social Security and for greedy corporations. I think that the glide path is there, the team is there. She has a self-identity that's with the Biden-Harris agenda. And her very first speech today from the White House, her first public appearance on anything, she used to pay homage to Joe Biden. So I'd be shocked if she undermined his agenda. The real question to me is, will she be vocal for it and actually move the ball forward beyond it, keep going in the direction that he's begun and maybe even be a little bit more bold? We'll see.
But Adam, so I don't know, man. I live in a different bubble. So like Biden did about 15% of his agenda. Sometimes it sounds like he did when I talk to people in DC, 150% of his agenda. He didn't do a huge amount of things that we asked him to do. And at the end, okay, well, let's put bygones be bygones. Let's look at the future. At the end here, the baton he's passing off that you're excited about, I really couldn't tell what his agenda was because I couldn't hear anything he was saying. He would just constantly mumble. So when Kamala Harris says it out loud, I'm ready to be excited, but what should I be excited about? What are, give me a couple of policies that you think Kamala Harris is actually going to advocate for that's relatively progressive, not just generically against billionaires or whatever, but what policies do we have to look forward to?
Well, actually, first, let me start with the generic, because I think there might be a slight differentiation between the direction the Democratic Party has gone rhetorically, policy-wise, and then some of the specifics of what we've gotten across the finish line, right? So I'm very proud that we worked for months with the White House, asking them to use a certain framing of Social Security and taxation, which basically boils down to Republicans want to cut Social Security in order to give tax cuts to the very wealthy, while Democrats want to tax the very wealthy and protect Social Security. That's a rubric that Joe Biden laid out in the State of the Union after months of engagement, and then continually on the campaign trail in swing states. I would be shocked if Kamala Harris did not continue that. But you lived through the Obama days when Democrats were willing to cut Social Security. So that's actually major progress. Then the question is, what taxes on the wealthy do we raise? And if we want to expand benefits, what additional taxes on the wealthy do we raise? I gotta be honest with you, I don't really care for campaign purposes. I want to give voice to the agenda of taxing billionaires and the super wealthy, insisting they pay their fair share and protecting and expanding Social Security. And we can figure out the details in governing mode. Similarly with costs, right? Like this idea that greedy corporations are jacking up prices on everything from groceries to gas, to prescriptions, to bank fees. Like those are policies to me. The willingness of this president in the State of the Union to actually call out corporate villains and say they are jacking up your prices was important. And yeah, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Federal Trade Commission can work out the specific details of what executive actions they're taking. And we can write laws if we're so fortunate as to have a trifecta in 2025. But it's really important that we make that case to the American people, both to prevent bad things from being on the agenda and also to lay the groundwork for good things. So I might be a little bit less pessimistic from you. And honestly, at this point, I want to win. And I believe that progressive ideas are popular. I think we need to talk about them in layman's terms. And I don't want to talk about earned income tax credits for people making X, Y, or Z amount. I want to talk about tax the rich, save Social Security, crack down on greedy corporations that are jacking up prices and taking money out of your family budgets, and leave the details to governing. That's my point of view. I don't know if you disagree with that one.
No, I agree. So look, I want the audience to understand a couple of things. So number one, we all care about winning. And once we win, that's where Adam and I continue to agree, but some diverge and say, well, let's not be too tough on the president and blah, 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 blah. No, you have to use your leverage after you win to try to actually get these policies. But for God's sake, yes, at least say progressive things so you can win, especially on economic issues. On economic progressive issues, poll so well, it would be political malpractice not to use them on the campaign trail. And then, look, I think we're both right in different directions on execution once they are in charge. Like price gouging, you're right. We should call out price gouging by corporations, and I'm glad that you're pushing them in that direction. Will they actually do anything about it? My opinion is no way. Okay, I know corporate Democrats. They're not going to do anything. On the other hand, I'll finish the thought here. Adam's group, PCCC, and Adam himself have been pushing the framing on Social Security should be increased rather than cut for now arguably decades. And they've done a terrific job of moving the ball on that. So understand that when he says that, there are real tangible results he's gotten out of it, and we've got, as a movement, have gotten out of that as well. So it does. So my point is, sometimes incrementalism is correct and framing is really important, and sometimes you just need to actually do something. Both of those things are true depending on the context.
Yeah. So look, I would differentiate between congressional Democrats and the administration using their power. I am not one to defend those who are not willing to use power, but I think you would agree that Lina Khan as FTC chair has been like the high watermark of what is possible. Maybe even pushing beyond what most people thought was possible in terms of cracking down on monopolies and corporate power, right? Blocking mergers, taking on grocery stores that want to merge together and jack up grocery prices, taking on Amazon. The DOJ under similar people like Jonathan Cantor are taking on Microsoft, taking on Google, right? Rohit Chopra at the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has actually passed laws that say credit card companies cannot charge exorbitant credit card fees. That is now the law. They're doing things on many types of fees that you would see in consumer finance, cracking down on people that just abuse customers. So that to me is what, that to me is promises fulfilled. What I hear you saying is, well, there's other powers that could be unlocked if Congress actually got their act together. Again, I would love to live in a world where we have a Democratic trifecta and we have Democratic infighting and disarray over how much should we hold corporations accountable. But if we get to that world, I agree with you. Like there will be some people that, block progress like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema did. But the thing I would say to your audience is there's a big difference between having a bullet point on a website and having robust campaigning on the campaign trail. To his credit, Joe Biden tried to give voice to things like not cutting Social Security, taxing billionaires, cracking down on greedy corporations. If Kamala Harris decides to give voice to those same things, she will be a very vibrant voice. And I think we can all look forward to that. So I think any of us that ever have a chance in our home states of asking her a question or asking local House or Senate candidates questions, get them on the record. Have them talking about the importance of saving Social Security and taxing billionaires or cracking down on price gouging. We've pulled it. Price gouging, even those words, I thought they were wonky. We actually tested jacking up prices versus price gouging. Price gouging did better. So we could just go to town hall meetings and ask any House or Senate candidate or Kamala Harris, if she's in town, what will you do to crack down on corporations that are greedy and price gouge consumers? And if she says something, that's a moment on CNN, and it's more of her self-identity. So I think all of us can play a role in helping all the Democrats be more robust on these issues that you and I know are popular.
Yeah, this is a great point. And by the way, also, if you can, go to talk about the 15% minimum tax that they put on corporations, because that's actually one of the best things that the Biden administration has done and separates them from the corporate giveaways that Donald Trump did when he was president. Okay, so last thing though, Adam, is about the VP slot. If you had your druthers, who would you pick for Kamala Harris's VP?
So I'm of the opinion that it would be electric to have an all-female ticket. I would love a Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer ticket. There might be other people that would also be electrifying in a good way. Gretchen Whitmer today put a little bit of a cold water on that. I actually, similar to Joe Biden saying he wouldn't run and then, wouldn't step down and then stepping down, I think she's possibly amenable if offered. But here's an analysis I think you would appreciate. I think that if Kamala Harris chooses, say, a white male who's boring, like Tim Kaine, because she feels she has to, that feels weak. It feels like she's compensating. Now, if she loves the person, or if it's a Jamie Raskin, or for somebody who she genuinely adores and America adores, great. But if she does it because she feels she's obliged to compensate, that doesn't project strength. It projects weakness. I love the idea of saying, you know what, we're doubling down. Two strong women. Someone like Gretchen Whitmer, who has made the case for economic populism in her home state, made the case for democracy, made the case for abortion rights, would be a fantastic addition to the ticket. So I just hope that she doesn't do something out of weakness. I hope she chooses the VP out of strength. And I think no matter what, we should be there to support her and to be enthusiastic that we have the wind at our back and we should take the fight to Trump and beat him and save democracy.
Yeah, I like the idea of doubling down a lot. And it partly because I think picking two women is actually a bold and correct and smart move, but also because it shows strength. And it says, I'm not backing down from anything. I'm going to double down. And so I like that idea a lot. Now, you're the second person in a row to say Jamie Raskin. I like that idea a lot. So that's another possibility. There are some choices that would be less exciting, like Pete Buttigieg or someone along those lines. But let's keep the excitement going. Let's have a good, strong pick. I agree with you. Don't do it out of weakness or because you felt like you had to for some BS reasons. Pick the person who's going to be the strongest fighter for this ticket. And the people that you mentioned are perfectly good for that.
And can I say one more word on that?
Yeah.
So today I asked someone on our staff at boldprogressives.org to do some research on what people like Andy Beshear and Roy Cooper from Kentucky and North Carolina, respectively, have been saying. I was really curious, what language do they use when they talk about the economy, democracy, abortion rights? I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised by Roy Cooper in North Carolina. I was expecting that he'd have, given a very Republican legislature, have really kind of catered to a conservative audience. And I was finding myself agreeing with, not just his positions, but the language he used. It was bold, it was strong. Andy Beshear, who I actually like personally, I went to law school with him. I think he was catering to a Kentucky crowd. He was using abortion language that reminded me of Bill Clinton in 1992, keeping abortion rare and stuff like that. And as much as I believe that he's a talented politician and would be a fantastic cabinet member somewhere, what I worry about is picking someone who actually isn't ready for the big stage when it comes to this moment where folks like us have done so much to move the conversation. And if we have somebody who's kind of unfortunately trapped in a state where they've been speaking 20, 30 years ago language, that would just not serve Kamala Harris well. So again, I think someone like Rachel Whitmer, Jamie Harris, maybe even Roy Cooper would be great. And I hope she, again, operates out of strength, not weakness.
Yeah, I agree. And don't do it based on superficial things like North Carolina, Kentucky, etc. And you're right, Roy Cooper is an interesting person. In fact, at the RNC, a couple of people were like, I hope you guys don't pick Roy Cooper when we had the conversation about potential Kamala Harris at the top and someone else's VP. And he's gotten some things done in North Carolina, even with a Republican legislature. So there's a lot of good, interesting choices. We're all crossing our fingers that Kamala Harris goes in the smart, strong, strategic direction that Adam's laying out here. All right, everybody check out boldprogressives.org. Adam, thank you for joining us, appreciate it.
Thank you.